Peace and innumerable blessings. My name is Jeanette Jackson Lancey in a soulful industry. I pray this finds you well. Thank you so much for clicking. And I pray your holidays season has treated you well and you find yourself really blessed watching this video. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Cancer Super Full Moon Eclipse video. Yeah, so there's a lot going on. First thing I'm going to do is discuss lunar eclipse, the energy of lunar eclipse, then go into the cancer, the energy of Cancer, and then go into the energy of the full moon, give you a brief rundown of what's going on astrologically, and then go back into the essence of this full moon, because I swear there's a nugget of context within all that. So let's first talk about the energy of an eclipse. The energy of eclipse is like the line in the sand. It's an invitation to change. It brings things to a heightened awareness. So where things have already been somewhat intense this year, during an eclipse, things get even more intense, and it becomes very clear to you what must change in your life. Given that the moon, this is a super moon, meaning the moon is pretty darn close to the earth, it's going to get even more intense than normal. Now, the moon is in Cancer, and that is the moon's home in Cancer. And Cancer rules. Cancer's the crab. It rules. It's kind of like the mother. It's the first first sign, the first water sign, and it's the sign that's learning to deal with emotions and learning to understand what it needs and what nurtures it and what's good for it. It's a sign of nurturing, but the thing about Cancer is it can't really nurture and love others until it learns to nurture and love itself. Cancer kind of gets lost in emotion, but that's very important, because if you're not heeding your emotions, you don't know what's important to you, and you don't know exactly what your needs are. The challenge right now in terms of restructuring our relationships and restructuring society is understanding what our needs are individually, and understanding what our needs are in terms of being an individual in respect to our relationships to one another, as well as our relationships to family, because Cancer also is family. And then taking it to a whole nother level in terms of understanding what our needs are in relationship with society and hierarchy and government and the powers that be. So as you can guess, this is really kind of a big time, and it's very telling that at the end of this year, the year ends on a note such as this, is in terms of having our feet held to the proverbial fire, in terms of making change in who we think we are, and learning to meet our needs, and learning that unless we take care of ourselves and meet our own needs, we cannot meet the needs of others. To put this moon in astrological context, there have been quite a few, there's been a lot going on in Cancer this year. So in terms of relationships and learning to listen to our emotions, this is kind of the rewind button, and making sure that you got the lessons of this summer in terms of learning to honor your own needs and take care of yourself and love yourself, as well as in relationships, understanding what your needs are and being able to vocalize them in a way that they can be heard. Keeping that within the larger astrological context of today, knowing that Mercury's retrograding in Capricorn and Mars is retrograding through Leo, meaning that we are learning to reconceptualize society in terms of hierarchy, money, business. We're learning to think differently about money, differently about hierarchy, differently about business in terms of how we serve each other and how we gain money from that. We're also learning to reshape our desires and reshape our creativity and look at how what we desire and what we do and how we express shapes our opinion of ourselves and who we think we are, i.e., our ego. So there's a lot of deep thought and deep process going on. Also, Leo and Cancer are very much childlike signs in terms of learning to deal with emotion and learning how to deal with expression and learning how to put ourselves out there in a way that honors us. So I will say to you, there's a lot of going on. This is a very internal time. It's winter. It's time to come within and work through our own personal darkness, work through our own emotions, work through what we need to do. Yes, it's good Lord Jesus. It's also Mercury retrograde, and Mercury retrograde is very much about coming within. So even though, and Saturn's getting ready to go to retrograde too. So for God's sakes, it may be New Year's Eve, but it's not really the time to go out and get drunk and dance on the table with no panties on. There's other times for that. That's what summer's for. It's the time to come within. Because New Year's Eve is going to be somewhat emotionally intense and put some things on the table. If you were drunk, it's kind of hard to put things on the table in an appropriate fashion, in a way that things can be heard and received by others. But yes, I prattle on. I have 4 suggestions for working through this energy in a way that serves you and everybody else around you and can help you. And also prepare you for the solar eclipse that is Capricorn, because Capricorn is all about being responsible and ready. 4 suggestions. Let me be really quick. First one, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Make sure your needs, wants, and desires are taken care of. Now's the time to come within. And know that unless you're taking care of what you need, want, desire, you cannot take care of anybody else. That anybody else goes from your mother, your child, your dog, your husband, your cousin, your best friend from Alaska, whoever it is, or whatever it is. You cannot take care of anybody else before you take care of yourself and know what your needs are and what your desires are. It's time for us to learn to balance me with we. Balance my desires, wants, needs with your desires, wants, needs, and expectations, and find a middle ground. That's a big number 1, but that's generally the crux of what's going on. Number 2, be willing to grow beyond what you were told we need, or beyond who we are told that we are. As you root into your emotions, as you root into your desires, as you root into who you really are and what's important to you, you will learn to understand. Well, you will learn that what you are told you are, who you told you are, what you were told your needs that you need is totally separate from the truth. Be willing to grow beyond the perception that there is not enough and that we have issues of lack, limitation, and survival. Another piece of Cancer is like being really closed. So look for ways that you are closing yourself off to receiving what you need and what you want. Because in many ways we're conditioned to be closed off to receiving what we need. So we get to perpetuate this cycle of searching outward for what we need when what we need is inside. That's a big number 2. Number 3, remember this time is for restructuring relationships, mindsets, and ego, as well as creative expression, which ties into our ego. So be really kind and aware of that in your relationships with others, and be sensitive and gentle. Number 4, remember that the challenge of this time is to be willing to let go of smallness and limitation and to step into expressing our divinity and expressing the grandeur of who we are in a very large way. We've been told and taught to be really small, and now is the time to step into our innate divinity. And the only way we're going to do that is by sorting through the emotions of who we are and what's going on in there. All right? So that's that. That's a lot. That's a lot, but it's a process, and astrology gives us more than enough time to work through things. So this New Year's Eve, be kind, be really kind to yourself, but also be kind to others. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in 2010. Stay blessed. Peace.